I'd like to remind all members that we have a very brief order of business this morning, and if you could please come to the chambers, we will be able to conclude rather efficiently. So for members who are on their way to the chambers, please arrive soon. We have a very brief order of business. We'll be able to conclude very quickly. Members, a quorum is present. I'd like to ask everyone in the chamber and our guests in the gallery to please stand for this morning's prayer. Assembly Member Gaines will be offering this morning's prayer.
Let us pray. Father, make us equally aware of our responsibilities as we are of our rights. Give to each of us the ability to respond in proportion to the measure of talent we possess, the position which we hold, the legacy which we have received from the past, to our prospects for the future. You once said, "But of everyone of whom much has been given, much will be required." Give us the willingness to give each day of our best within our own sphere of endeavor, so that we, too, may be builders of a better community, state, and nation. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please remain standing for this morning's Pledge of Allegiance, led by Mr. Bill Berryhill. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We move on to the reading of the previous day's journal.
Assembly Chamber Sacramento, Thursday, June 25, 2009. The Assembly met at 9:30 a.m. Honor Lori Saldana, Speaker Pro Tem of the Assembly, presiding. Chief Clerk E. Dotson Wilson at the desk. Assistant Clerk Timothy Moreland reading. The roll was called.
Mr. Torlakson moves. Mr. Gaines seconds that the reading of the previous day's journal be dispensed with. Presentation of petitions, there are none. Introduction and reference of bills will be deferred. Reports of committees will be deemed read. Amendments deemed adopted. Messages from the governor, there are none. Messages from the Senate, there are none. We move on to motions and resolutions. Today's absences will be recorded in the journal. In addition, yesterday I neglected to explain that Assemblymember Ted Lieu is on training with his reserve unit and was absent yesterday and today. Mr. Swanson has requested unanimous consent to adjourn in memory. That is granted without objection. We go to business on the daily file. Second reading. Clerk will read.
ACR 79 with amendments, ACA 9 with amendments, and SB 572, 39 with amendments,
All bills
544.
will be deemed read and amendments deemed adopted. Members, will go on to motions and resolutions. Mr. Torrico.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I hereby request unanimous consent to take up for purpose of reconsideration SB 62.
Without objection? Any objection to unanimous consent to take up file item 62? Seeing and hearing none, we'll move to file item 62 for reconsideration. Without objection, reconsideration is granted. And clerk will read.
Senate Bill 62 by the Senate Committee on Budget and Fiscal Review, an act relating to state budget, making an appropriation thereof, and declaring the urgency thereof to take effect immediately.
Ms. Evans, you may open.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is, members, this is SB 62, which we had taken up on Wednesday as the opening bill in our attempt to solve the state's ongoing fiscal crisis. I just want to put this in context with the work that this House did yesterday.
One moment, Ms. Evans. Members, we have a member presenting a bill. I'd like to ask everyone to please return to your desks and give your attention to Ms. Evans. She's presenting on reconsideration. Thank you. She's presenting on the bill in chief. Ms. Evans.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I was giving members an opportunity to go sit down at their desks. Thank you, members. This is SB 62. This is a bill that we took up on Wednesday. It was the opening part of our package of bills designed to address the state's ongoing fiscal crisis. As you know, the Treasurer has told us that as of July 1, he will begin issuing IOUs. By my calculations, we're about 110 hours away from that moment. Yesterday, members, this House took what I believe was extremely responsible and a very responsible, critical first step in a very bipartisan way. And it was an overwhelmingly there was an overwhelming aye vote to pass a package of 3 bills off this floor that would address the immediate fiscal crisis and provide $5 billion of relief to the state's treasury in order to allow the Comptroller and the Treasurer to go ahead and do the work that they need to do this summer. Unfortunately, 2 members of the Senate were able to veto the work of 97 legislators in both houses. And so that bill package is now remains pending in the Senate. But that was $5 billion of solutions that we passed out of this House yesterday in a very united way. This bill represents an additional $6 to $7 billion of solutions. SB 62 is the centerpiece of the plan that would address the state's fiscal crisis. It is the bill that makes the most cuts to the most state services, provides other kinds of solutions, and as I said, provides another $6 to $7 billion. So altogether, this package of bills so far, if we're able to pass this off the floor, would represent $11 to $12 billion of the $19.5 billion deficit that we're facing. So this bill is very critical, and I would ask for your aye vote.
Mr. Nielsen.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and ladies and gentlemen of the Assembly. Yesterday, indeed, the Assembly made a very responsible action and a very positive step towards the future. And I'm arguing right now for a no vote in that spirit, actually. This measure was, all aspects of it, discussed in the conference committee, and as I suggested yesterday, maybe not enough, but it was discussed, and we would not claim that we're not informed. But I would say that there's not been an opportunity for us to negotiate on some of the provisions, and some of them are very problematic indeed, problematic for the people of the state of California. And I would ask that we would hold up and not move this measure today, but rather let's say no for now, or put it over for now, and let's the next 2 days engage in some very hard, serious, around-the-clock negotiations on its provisions, and then move it maybe Sunday.
Thank you, Mr. Gaines. Seeing no further discussion, Ms. Evans, you may close.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'll just remind everybody that time is running short. The clock is ticking very rapidly. July 1st is coming up very quickly. And while we have spent over a month in conference committee and we have actually discussed and debated proposals that came to us from the Republican caucus in this House and from the Republican caucus in the Senate as well, now is the time to act. And so I would ask for your aye vote on SB 62.
I meant Mr. Nielsen, not Mr. Gaines. My apologies. All discussion having ended, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. 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 Ms. Evans moves a call. Members, as far as additional items on the file, concurrence items will be continued. The remaining reconsideration items will be continued. Assembly third reading is being continued. Senate third reading is being continued. Consent calendar is being continued. Both the first legislative day and the second legislative day.
Members, please return to your desks as we prepare to lift a call on SB 62. Members, we're preparing to lift a call on SB 62. Clerk will post. Clerk will close the roll. Move the call. Mr. Tarico moves the call. Members, we're prepared to lift a call on SB 62. We'll return to motions and resolutions. We'll just lift a call. Members, we're prepared to lift a call on SB 62. Clerk will post. Clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Ayes 41, noes 26. On the urgency fails. We'll turn to motion and resolutions. Mr. Tarico.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I hereby request unanimous consent to rescind and expunge the vote on SB 62.
Without objection. Members, we'll go to adjourning memories. Members, if I can have your attention. Mr. Chuck Calderon.
Mr. Speaker, members, if I could ask everyone to return to their seat. I would like to...
Before you proceed, we'll allow time for the members to return to their seat. Mr. Calderon. Right. We still have members we're waiting to return to their seat. Thank you. Mr. Calderon, you may continue.
Yes, if I could, Mr. Speaker, I'd like members to stand for a moment of silence in memory of the death of Michael Jackson. Well, don't stand there.
Mr. Swanson.
Yeah. Mr. Speaker and members, as we mourn the passing of great entertainers like Farrah Fawcett and Michael Jackson, I wanted to offer adjournment in memory and join Mr. Mike Davis, chair of our entertainment committee, also in his presentation and adjournments in memory. I wanted to speak very briefly to the fact that many of us grew up on the music of the Jacksons. We know what Michael Jackson and his family meant to Motown and its growth and its success to music. Michael Jackson, born, of course, we know in Gary, Indiana, was the seventh of 9 children. From the late 60s and 70s, the Jacksons, of course, helped lead the music industry and provide us with a lot of entertainment. Michael Jackson came into his own, though, in 1982 with the epic record Thriller, selling over 102 million copies. More importantly, Thriller was a breakthrough for MTV and getting Michael Jackson, the other African-American artists, on MTV, which wasn't the case at the time, so he gets credit for that. But it's been 25 years or more of entertainment, and during that period of time, those of us remember as children the contribution that the Jackson 5 made, its cartoons and all the other memories. And so I think it's a time for us to recognize him as a king of pop in the most positive way we can. And I encourage us to adjourn in memory and send our condolences to the Jackson family and to all those fans who are mourning his loss.
Thank you, Mr. Swanson. Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I, too, am pleased to join our Assembly Member Swanson in us asking for the world to commemorate the contributions that Michael Jackson made to the world of music. He truly transcended all possibilities that were charted for his career, and certainly was a face and also a musician who was known throughout this world. I had the opportunity to also, many years ago when I was a chief of staff to then Assemblywoman Maxine Waters, who was from the 48th District, work in the community with the Community Youth and Sports Foundation when Michael Jackson was really at the top of his game. But what was unique about that, this was long before any professional and personal challenges to his career or to himself. But during this time, he was very fortunate, I believe, to have shared himself and his money with a youth and sports foundation that really was located in Speaker Bass's district, over on Crenshaw Boulevard. And the light on the faces of the young people, many of whom happened to be foster children, was immeasurable. And so it was certainly rewarding for me as a political aide to have had an opportunity to cross paths with Michael Jackson, not on the stage of music, but in the community. He was a celebrity who shared his success with others who mattered. And so as we commemorate Michael Jackson, I ask that we remember the most outstanding and positive contributions he made at this time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Swanson. Thank you. Seeing no further business before this House, Mr. Tarico moves, Mr. Gaines second, that the House stands adjourned until tomorrow, Saturday, June 27th at 10 a.m. There will be floor session at 10 a.m. Another adjournment memory? Very well. And also, we will withdraw the motion to adjourn by unanimous consent, and Mr. Davis wants to be recognized again. Mr. Davis.
Mr. Speaker and members, as the chair of the Arts, Entertainment, Sports, and Internet Media Committee, I'd like for us to also recognize the contributions and to commemorate the life of Mary Farrah Fawcett, who was born in 1947 in Corpus Christi, and she enrolled in the University of Texas at Austin and was initially engaged in a microbiology major, but changed her her academic studies to art. During the 60s, Fawcett starred in a number of popular television shows while maintaining a lucrative career on the side as a model. In 1969, she saw her screen debut in the French film Love is a Funny Thing, and in the early 1970s, she began to find her work in television and movies. Her big break came in 1976, we all remembered, when she was cast as one of three attractive female private eyes who worked for a mysterious wealthy man in Charlie's Angels. Charlie's Angels became a top-rated television show from the 1976-1977 season. But I think most of all, for a lot of the men throughout the world, Farrah Fawcett will be remembered for her work as America's favorite cover girl, calendar girl. And so I know that there may even be some in the body here who might remember, if they go in the garage, to get those old posters of Farrah Fawcett, one of America's most beautiful blondes. Yesterday, she too succumbed. Farrah Fawcett had an illustrious career as a television star, and like many of our entertainers had, and most of us in life, had challenges both personally and professionally. But I think that as we commemorate her life, we look back with the fondness and the joy that she brought in entertaining many of those of us who watch Charlie's Angels. And so I ask that we remember the life of Farrah Fawcett, and finally say that she fought a tough battle with cancer, which overcame her yesterday. But she shared this struggle, this trial and tribulation with the world in a special documentary talking about the difficulties of fighting cancer. So to the very end, she shared her craft with us to help to improve the quality of life for all of us. And we are better off by having known Farrah Fawcett. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Mr. Garrick.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to rise and to adjourn in memory of an individual that I had the privilege of knowing over a 30-year period, who I think all of you will recognize. I'm joining my colleagues, Mr. Swanson and Mr. Davis, in what some of us in Southern California, and if you've been around Hollywood, know, or the saying goes, things happen in threes. There was a third individual that we lost this week who entertained us in many capacities for many years. That was Ed McMahon, who died on Monday. Died at the age of 85. For 30 years, he was Johnny Carson's partner on TV on The Tonight Show, taking over in 1962 from The Parr Show till 1992. For another 12 years, he hosted Star Search. I knew him because he represented, and for over 25 years, and worked closely with my family and with a client we had, Anheuser-Busch, and This Bud's For You commercials and a lot of other commercials. Also on the Rose Parade. For 20 years, I worked with him and frequently saw him throughout the year, and had the good opportunity to visit a few of the Tonight Shows myself, and visit with Johnny and with Ed. With that, and his contribution, the humor that he brought, the lighthearted, the companionship and good friendship that he brought to not just Johnny, but to many of his other friends and associates, I'd like to adjourn in his memory along with the other two individuals today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garrick. Again, floor session for tomorrow will be 10 a.m. We'll have floor session Sunday, June 28th, 10 a.m., Monday, June 29th, floor session 12 noon. Again, Monday, 12 noon, floor session. No further business is before this House. Mr. Tarico moves. Mr. Gaines seconds that the House stands adjourned until Saturday, June 27th at 10 a.m. All those in favor signify by the usual sign of aye. Ayes have it. Quorum call is lifted. See